Yo, 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 what's up, everybody? Welcome to the channel. And today we're going to be breaking down UFC Fight Night Abu Dhabi between Magomed Ankalaev and Bogdan Guskov. And before I get into this, I'm just going to say we're going to try to get through this a little bit quicker than I have in these past videos. So if you want me to expand, give a little bit of a more in-depth take, feel free to hit me in the comments. I love talking. I could really make this video a lot longer than it should be, but we're trying to be a little bit more concise, guys. I understand, you don't want to hear me yap all day. So without further ado, let's get into the first fight of the night between Cody Gibson and Abdul Hussein. All right. Minus 550 on Abdul Hussein is a bit too steep for me. I do think he wins this fight. I will be picking him by decision. He has good power in his hands. He has a good submission game. He's got good counter grappling in the sense he can stuff a takedown, get into the clinch, find trips from there. Where I am concerned with this game, though, is his takedown shots from range. They're nothing special. Now he uses those to get into the clinch, and then from there he's got good trips, good judo, and find success from there. But there's also been many opponents on the regional scene that have gone up from bad positions against Abdul Hussein, brought it back up to the feet, and they're going to continue to do that. Or if Cody Gibson is able to do that, then maybe Abdul Hussein starts to slow down when Abdul Hussein's shooting many takedowns, not getting him, getting back out to the range, dealing with a lot of volume from Cody Gibson could bring problems. Now I think Abdul Hussein is probably the more technical striker. He's the better wrestler. He's probably got the better submission game. He's probably the better overall fighter in this matchup in almost every way. But he is undersized. And you saw it where Magomed Ankalaev out-grappled him. And even though he had a lot of success, showcased some good takedown defense, showcased some good trips, he was not able to control Ankalaev, like I said. He doesn't seem to have a fantastic ability to control people from what I've seen. And a lot of these subs that I've seen as well have come from his opponents shooting in on him. Some of these opponents are just really not that great. I'll bring up some examples very quickly. This is just a worse version of Blood Diamond on the feet. Has a decent submission game, but that's about it. Eduardo Mora, this guy's not good. Sammy, yeah, he is like okay. He's a 14-6 record, but he's been fighting in UAE Warriors, so that doesn't mean shit. This guy is the shortest guy I've seen in an octagon that isn't in like the Dwarf Fighting League. These are not great fighters, and I know the Tyson Nam win looks good, but Tyson Nam, at the end of the day, that's a UFC veteran that has fought at flyweight his whole career and moves up to bantamweight and still looked a lot bigger than Abdul Hussein. I think this guy is in the wrong weight class, and I think if you're not able to find the takedowns from the initial shot at range, if Cody Gibson's able to deal with the trips well, or even if he does get taken down, he keeps getting back up to the feet, forces Abdul Hussein to work more than any of his past opponents with the volume that Cody Gibson has, with his ability to potentially survive and win in a dogfight like he did in that Katona fight. This could turn into a very interesting fight later. I'm not saying Hussein is a fraud, but I'm just saying I believe in him a lot more if he was at the flyweight division. And I would believe in his ability to find these takedowns a little bit more. So he will be a little bit quicker because he's at the bantamweight division, and he's fought at the bantamweight division his whole career. But if you just look at this guy, rewatch some tape, it doesn't look like the right weight class. So Cody Gibson's not great. Takedown offense. If you go to the UFC stats, it's around like 70%. Yeah, exactly. He can get controlled, and that's why I'm going to go with Hussein. I think he finds some control. I think he has success in the clinch. And I think he'll land some big shots as well. Like I said, I think he's the more technical striker. I just worry that if he starts to slow down late, Gibson could be live for a comeback finish. And overall, just Gibson being a guy with a longer range and actually a real human being, as opposed to these guys that he has been fighting at UAE Warriors, could just expose him to a certain degree. This loss against Magomed Ankalaev, honestly, probably was more of a positive for how I viewed him than a negative. But at the end of the day, Magomed Ankalaev, another flyweight. Like I'm saying, I think he's in the wrong division. Don't mind his style, though. Cool striking, cool timing. I wouldn't be surprised if we got a finish here. Moving on to the next fight of the card, all right? Alia versus Mike Davis. Oh, man, Mike Davis, man, the Muay Thai mastermind. Oh, my gosh. Did you guys know that one time Mike Davis won a Muay Thai championship within his own gym? He now owns the keys to his gym. There's all these fucking folklore tales about Mike Davis, about how he's this fucking gritty man, about how he's the most skilled fighter everyone's ever seen outside of the octagon. And then at the octagon, he looks good. He's got the tools. He's just not as advertised by some people in interviews. Mike Davis, to me, is live in this matchup. I'm picking Aliev. And I think a lot of people are going to be betting Narulo, thinking this is a great value. minus 225. His last name ends in Aliev. He's undefeated. He's a grappler, bro. How is he not going to win this one? And maybe you're right, dude. Maybe you are. But going into this matchup, I know Mike Davis has the better striking. I know he's got better power. I know he's got the better jiu-jitsu. And when it comes to his takedown defense, it's not that bad. And his takedown defense stats, if you go here, it's like 60%. A lot of it is skewed because he jumps guard on bottom. Now, he's probably dumb enough to do it in this matchup. Actually, most definitely is. And that's a large reason why I am picking Narulo Aliev, because even if Mike Davis is doing good, let's say he like hurts Narulo in round 1 or has a lot of success. This is the type of moment where Mike Davis is doing good, building into round 2, all of a sudden jumps on bottom for a guillotine. Close round 2. Judges, being Abu Dhabi guys, give it to Narulo Aliev. Swings around in his favor. Round 3 builds into it. And also, another reason why I ended up picking Narulo, just because Mike Davis lately with this cardio, man, he hasn't looked fantastic. He's been looking like he's slowing down. So I think Narulo Aliev is a little bit more live for a finish in later rounds than I originally expected. And while I'm not super high on his striking, and I do think he's a fraud, and I will be picking against him eventually, even if he wins in the way that I think he will win, I am picking him over Mike Davis. And nothing against Mike Davis, dude. He's a lot of fun to watch. Man, that fight against Hakeem Dawodu in the Contender Series turned me into a fan of Mike Davis for quite some time. But he just seems to make mistakes. And he seemed to slow down. I think he put on 10 pounds of muscle either for this fight or the last fight against Mitch Ramirez. And just for the cardio's sake against a grappler that's going to be shooting in on a takedown after takedown after takedown and probably getting you down in moments. Yeah, I don't really love that for the Mike Davis side. So I could see Mike Davis by finish probably early in round 1 or round 2. By decision, if it's close, it leans towards Aliev. And to me, Aliev looked pretty good against Shamrock, but it's fucking Shamrock. So what do I know? This is close to a pick'em for me. I'd put Narulo Aliev as like the very slight favorite, just simply for the fact of you don't know what version of Mike Davis is going to show up. And while he is talented, and while there is all these fucking tales about Mike Davis in the fucking gyms behind the scenes, I want to see it. And also, Mitch Ramirez, he got slimed by Chase Hooper last weekend. And not that Mike Davis had the worst performance, but in comparison, Chase Hooper is looking like a better prospect. Just kidding. Just kidding. Mike Davis is better than Chase Hooper. I know that. But you get what I'm saying there, kind of. All right. Weird fucking way to say that. Moving on to the next fight of the card is Magomed Ankalaev versus Brenson Hiberio. In this matchup, I'm going with Magomed Ankalaev. I don't understand why people would ever touch minus 850, though. Ankalaev, sure, he's got some floaty hands. Like, he throws pretty clean, I guess. I don't know if I want to say clean. Decently quickly. He's not super plotty. And he has, like, a good kicking game. But this guy is low volume. This guy hasn't been tested by anyone good. He's fought absolute can after can after can. And Brenson Hiberio, man, I have a little bit of a soft spot in my heart for this guy because he's gone through the fucking gauntlet, bro. The UFC don't want him in the fucking... You don't want him in the organization anymore, and I want Brenson Hiberio to stay in my league. I want him to win this fight. I don't think he will, man. He's been through the gauntlet in terms of matchmaking, in terms of being a dog in every fight. I don't think he's been a favorite in any of his fights in the UFC. And it starts at the Contender Series, plus 400 dogs. Zhang Mingyang, he was actually like plus 105, plus 110 in this matchup. But even then, like Zhang Mingyang, his first fight in the UFC is against Tuco Taco. So he gets a fucking layup. Brenson Hiberio gets a guy coming off a KO that looks very dangerous. And then once he loses that, he's fighting as a plus 300 dog. Finally gets a decent fight in Cal Machado. And then after that, the smallest amount of an underdog he was plus 300. Now he's coming off a 3-fight losing streak to Mirzakhanov, Umar Sy, and Abdul Rahman Yakyaev. I don't get what the UFC has against this guy. I think he's actually fun to watch. I think he's worth keeping in the UFC. But, I mean, shit, he's going to lose this and he's going to get cut. I think Ankalaev can find the takedowns. I think Ankalaev is going to be scared of Brenson Hiberio, who I think will have the frame advantage. I don't think these measurements are right, to be frank with you. And even if they are, Brenson Hiberio is a guy that you're giving him the best chance to win by keeping this fight on the feet, by striking on the feet, trying to find the KO. So if I'm Ankalaev, I'm taking him down and I'm trying to find that sub. So I think Ankalaev by submission, I haven't checked the odds, but if it's juicy, it's a good fucking price probably, man. Everyone's probably picking Ankalaev by KO. Brenson Hiberio's lost by submission a lot of times. And Ankalaev has one submission on record, a lot of KOs. Maybe he finds a TKO on the ground. But this is a situation where I could see him not being comfortable with Brenton Barrio on the feet, who is a rangy guy, who does have good power and could potentially have that fluke ability, because he will take the risk that you need to take as a big dog to pull off these upsets. So if I'm Tuchelov, I'm taking this fight down on the ground and looking for that finish early. I'm going round 1 submission for the Tuchelov side. I'm cheering for Brenton. I'm not delusional. But plus 600 is crazy. This is barely inside what he was against Abdulrahman Yakyaev, who was more proven and just overall looks like a better prospect than Mr. Tuchelov here. So next fight of the card, Ismael Bonfim versus Axel Sola. All right, bro. Axel Sola's a fucking warrior, man. Dude, he's a fucking lock, bro. That's what I hear all week. And I understand it, and I'm picking Axel Sola. So, once again, I'm fence sitting. And I'm telling you, don't bet the favorite. But that's the reality of these Abu Dhabi cards, man. Everybody's just looking for that one favorite that they think is good value, and they just bet the shit out of him. And that's why you see Abdul Hussein open minus 260. Now he's minus 550. Okay, let's go to Magomed Ankalaev, minus 500. Now he's minus 900. All these guys and Av, Eve, whatever. A lot of them are just fucking going wide as absolute shit. Kuniev, I don't know what he started out. Minus 225. You never know, man. And it is what it is. In this matchup, we don't get a Dagestani guy. This is probably a really fun fight. I think Ismael Bonfim is actually being underrated because he's lost to Siddiqov. He's lost to Chris Padilla. And if you want to say he's a quitter, sure, whatever. I still think he has a good skill set. I do think that this is tough for him, just in the sense that Axel Sola is 6 foot tall, has a welterweight passable frame, and he will have the range advantage. And he is just kind of awkward in terms of his timing. What he does have that's pretty slick is like he'll just pop out that jab a couple times, catch you off beat, and then land it too. He's got good straight punches, which is where Ishmael has struggled before. And while I think Ishmael, he has like decent head movement, he's got better counter striking than people will say. He's got a good low kick, and he's got a great knee. And that could be Axel Sola's big problem in this matchup. The same knee that Mason Jones landed a lot in their matchup is something that Ismael Bonfim has in the arsenal. If you remember, that KO that he landed against McKinney was with that knee. He's got a good clinch knee as well, dude. This could be a big problem for Sola, but Ismael Bonfim hasn't shown the ability to be dangerous enough to where I'm going to pick him by early finish. And if this fight extends, while he could build into the fight, I haven't seen enough from him to want to pick him. So I'm going Axel Sola very unconfident. I think Ishmael just being written off as this guy that's soft. He's dog shit, bullshit, blah, blah, blah. And I see nobody picking Ishmael for a guy that I feel like is a lot closer to the level of Axel Sola than a lot of people are saying. Axel's getting a whole lot of credit for dropping Mason Jones in round 1 and then losing rounds 2 and 3 and just having moments. And I hate to be that guy, but Mason Jones is a guy that even when Mason Jones is having a lot of success and the fight's going his way, his opponents are going to have success. His opponents are going to land big shots. But going back, rewatching Sola versus Rise McKee, I wanted to hate on that performance and find a way to pick Bonfim. The reality is that fight was on short notice, up a weight class, and he built into that fight. And this guy is a dog, and he is tough, and he is awkward, and he'll rip to the body. And these are things that Ishmael probably will struggle with if he's not going to rock and really hurt Axel Sola early, which is possible. Very possible. And I think he might get cut after this fight, which is crazy. Because I do think that there's some juice left on the wheels of Bonfim, but this is just an awkward frame matchup for him. And as someone that's been hit a lot lately, and if you want to label him as just a flat-out quitter, then fucking go for the Sola side here. But this could be a sneaky, very fun fight. And I hope that Ismael Bonfim does enough to keep himself within the UFC, because I think he's gotten a pretty tough load of work. And still would be like a very interesting test for a lot of these mid-level lightweight prospects. So Axel Sola's a pick by decision. That was a little bit long-winded. We'll keep moving. But I wouldn't bet him. Minus 220. That's crazy, guys. That's crazy. Minus 200. That's a 66% chance. So this is probably right around like a 68, 69, nearing 70% chance. So no. That's probably a little bit less than that, right? Let's do it. Let's actually do the math here. 22 divided by 32 is 68. So you're betting on a damn near 69% chance for Axel Sola to win this fight. Go back, watch some Ismael Bonfim tape against some of the opponents he was doing well against. So I don't know. Just do that. I wouldn't play other side. Maybe slight value on Bonfim. Just enjoy this fight. Enjoy it, man. All right, moving on. Next fight of the card. Santiago Ponzinibbio versus Sam Patterson. You guys probably know who both these guys are at this point in their careers. Sam Patterson's a guy I like. I bet him against Danny Barlow. Yeah, man, he did me right. But he's got good power in the hands. He's got a great submission game. His takedowns are a little bit concerning, maybe not concerning, but a little bit of a concern in a matchup where he's losing on the feet. Ponzinibbio probably still has some power, but he definitely doesn't have the chin anymore. Patterson's probably going to land some low kicks and eventually find the KO on the feet, if not find the submission on the ground. Ponzinibbio, man, you've been cool. You've served the UFC well, but you're getting knocked out. And we'll see you in the big leagues, buddy. He probably goes out to PFL or some shit after this, realistically. Or he retires. I like you, Ponzi. Cool guy. But, yeah, you're getting knocked out probably early first 2 rounds. Maybe subbed as well, like I said. Minus 500, once again, a little bit steep. We've seen Sam Patterson get hit, and he probably wins this and looks super dominant. But, shitski, bud. I don't know. You guys do you. Next fight of the card, man. Dustin Jacoby versus Magomed Ankalaev. I don't understand this shit. Like, as soon as you collapse it, there's a face, and then there's not anybody. That's fucking bullshit. UFC, what are we doing? We're a $1 billion company at this point, right? So, shitski, bud. All right, Dustin Jacoby versus Magomed Ankalaev. In this matchup, I'm picking Dustin Jacoby. I'm going to pick him by round 3 KO. I think he's going to build into this fight. I think Magomed Ankalaev, while he could be the type of guy that's going to rock Dustin Jacoby, maybe KO him or hurt him in a couple rounds, have the bigger moments, and win this on the scorecards. I'm not going to pick it to happen just because of how unproven he is. I think he's fought absolute Carl's Jr. fucking clerks. He's fought Costco workers, essentially. And while he's looked decent, he has pretty quick hands, and he'll throw like a flurry of like a 3-punch combination followed by a high kick, and he looks good in moments. And he has a lot of KOs for sure. And if you want to do the whole Justin Jacoby's a little bit chinny, he's been clipped. Menifeld, who's not a good striker, clipped him twice and then ended up winning that by decision, even though Jacoby looked like the much better striker. Khalil beats him because Khalil has the bigger moments. If you want to be that guy, go for it. Magomed Ankalaev seems to have a pretty decent background of grappling as well. To me, I haven't seen any like crazy ability to control anybody. If he lands a takedown, I think Jacoby probably gets back up to the feet, and he should be able to separate it from range more times than not. And on the feet, he's got the range advantage. It'll be the toughest range that a Ankalaev has fought against. And not only that, Ankalaev is horrible at checking low kicks. Horrible. Jacoby's got a pretty solid low kick. He's got a good jab. I think that Jacoby should be able to build into this fight and maybe find a KO at some point. There's been some fights, too, where Saeed didn't necessarily gas out, but he just looked really, really tired in between rounds, and he wasn't even working that hard, in my opinion. So while he is explosive in moments, while he can potentially get this one done, like I said, I'm going to pick Dustin Jacoby to keep this fight on the feet for the most part, and overall, he's seen better strikers than Ankalaev, at least from what I know. Shit, maybe Ankalaev is that dude, but Jacoby, to me, with his range, with his sneaky power, with the straight punches, and also the low kick, that should be money for him in this fight. I think he gets this one done, even though he's old, even though he's chinny. Moving on to the next fight of the card, Thomas Peterson versus Walter Walker. We are now 18 minutes deep into this breakdown of the fight. Okay, so we're going to move through this a little bit quicker, but Walter Walker versus Thomas Peterson, the pick is not going to be Walter Walker, and I recognize that this 100% is probably biased. I have just been on the fade Walter Walker train for some time now. I think this guy is ass. I bet Lucas Bursky against him. I didn't pick Lucas Bursky. I actually picked Walter, but I still bet Lucas because I thought it was crazy value. And I cashed. And I know Walter maybe is back on the sauce or he's adjusted from not being on the sauce anymore, but even when he was on the sauce in the regional scene, I thought this guy was horrible. And I know the heavyweight division is ass, but Thomas Peterson being a southpaw, taking away the low kicks from Walter Walker, if he's not getting KO'd on the feet, I think he is like the more technical striker, oddly enough. And Walter even going for these submissions on bottom. If he's not getting them, Thomas Peterson's the kind of guy that can just fucking fat max his way on top to a decision. So, I mean, pick your poison, dude. I honestly wanted to pick one underdog on this card. I was trying to find a way to pick Bonfim. This is one of these matchups where it's like, no matter how much tape I watch, I think they're both ass. And Thomas Peterson being a southpaw, being able to step the takedowns more likely than not, and having a decent, this is what it comes down to, a decent striking performance against Guilherme Pat. is enough for me to want to pick him against Walter Walker, even though I think they're both dog shit. I also see like 9% of people picking Thomas Peterson, and I see a lot of money on Walter Walker. Everyone talking about betting him, yet the line is moving inverse. That's another reason why I'm picking Thomas Peterson too. So this is a fat heavyweight fight. I wouldn't bet it, even though I might throw a little bit on Thomas Peterson at plus 155 because I think it's pretty close to 50-50. In that case scenario, I think I'm getting some value here. So I'll sprinkle Thomas Peterson maybe a little bit, but for my own mental health sake, I'm not going to throw more than fucking a unit, dude. You can't throw more than a unit on these fat fucking blobs, right? And I've been waiting for the Walter Walker fade for quite some time. I would not be surprised if he just finds a heel hook here because this is the biggest joke of a division, the biggest joke in any of professional sports in general in terms of athletes, okay? Moving on to the next fight of the card. Abu Bakar Vagayev versus Sagid Isagakmayev, okay? We're going with Abu Bakar Vagayev. I'm going to be frank with you guys. I don't really know enough about this guy to give you a fantastic breakdown. I watched maybe 1 to 2 fights of him. I saw the fight highlights, and it seems like he's got good cardio just from seeing other people as well. Like, I wasn't able to find as much tape on this guy as I wanted to, and maybe I was just rushing through and being retarded. But he seems to have pretty powerful hands. He seems to have the better cardio, might have the better overall grappling. And while Sagid, when I rewatched the fight against Nicholas Dalby, didn't look as bad as I originally thought, I still saw him slow down. I still saw Dalby be able to find moments, scramble, and then end up with a lot of control time in that fight that I don't think should have happened. I think Abu Bakar Vagayev can probably take advantage of these types of moments as well. Can succeed with the grappling and on the feet. Like I said, he is dangerous with the hands. And yeah, I mean, pick your poison here. Yeah, I think it's Chechnya versus Dagestan. I forget which one is which. But I'm picking Abu Bakar. I think the odds being minus 260. That's another reason why I'm picking him. I'm not going to act like I have the most elite take on this fight, so I'm going with Vagayev by decision. I'm not betting this fight. Minus 260. Just from what I've seen with Sagid, the fact that he was such a big favorite over Nicholas Dalby in the past as well tells you that he does have some good skills that should not be forgotten. So I'm going to fade this fight. Hopefully it's a fun fight, even though maybe it probably won't be. You know what I mean? Moving on to the next fight of the card, Rizvan Kuniev versus Tyrell Fortune. We got some more fat mass on the screen. We get some more fat heavyweight blobs. Let's cut this division, man. Holy shit. I swear, everybody below Curtis Blades in the rankings should just be cut. Like everyone in between. I know Rizvan arguably beat Curtis Blades. Curtis is at least fun to watch. But we should set up like a heavyweight system where everyone below Curtis Blades should just be cut. And if you want to get into the UFC heavyweight division, you should have to beat Curtis Blades. And all of a sudden, okay, you're good enough. Now we can build a division. When we have guys like Thomas Peterson, Walter Walker, Tyrell Fortune, fucking Marcin Tybur. The list goes on and on and on. And I didn't even name like the fucking worst of the bunch, dude. Like there's some of the worst athletes I've ever seen on earth in this heavyweight division. Okay. These guys are like, weirdly enough, the upper echelon of like the fat Zoid guys, man. Rizvan Kuniev's like a top 10 heavyweight. This guy's like just has takedown defense and like, decent striking. He popped for steroids and he's a fucking blimp. He looks fat. I think he stuffs the takedowns. I think he wins this by decision. I think Tyrell Fortune's like not horrible. Maybe he finds the takedowns, but once again, just uninterested in this fight. Like, what's the best case scenario of how this fight plays out for the UFC? Kuniev stuffs all the takedowns from Tyrell Fortune and knocks him out on the feet. Wow, sick. Let's go. Why is this on my main card, bro? I don't give a fuck about him. Moving on to the next fight of the card. Oh, I want to bet minus 305. I'm going to pick him by decision. Minus 305 on a blob, man. You guys got it. All right, moving on to the next fight of the card. One of the better fights on the card. I'm excited for this one. Magomed Ankalaev versus Damian the Butcher Rizbeki. I don't know how to say that last name, so we're going to call him the Butcher versus Chonko. I'm picking Chonko, but I have my concerns. Chonko has been hit multiple times throughout his career. He got hit on the Contender Series, and then he built back into the fight, and then he looked very good, and then he looked slick on the feet, and he probably has a great grappling arsenal in terms of takedown defense, probably has some good trips of his own, probably could get some offensive work if he really wants to. Now, in this matchup, maybe not. Damian, the Butcher, is pretty damn well-rounded. He's got a good submission game. He's showcased some good takedown defense. His actual entries into takedowns from range, I haven't really seen too much on. I wasn't really impressed by anything of that nature, but he's got some pretty good trips once he gets to the clinch, some good throws as well. and seems to have a pretty solid submission game, even though he does tend to make some dumbass errors. There's one clip like actually circulating on Twitter right now where he's got like full hooks in, and this guy just puts a forearm on his chest and just pushes him off, and everyone's like, what the fuck is this? This is sorry as fuck. So I don't know to take that like whether or not this guy's just dog shit or that was a bad moment, because he showcased some good moments. It's kind of a weird thing to look at. But to break down this fight, Damian the Butcher being southpaw, being high volume, being up in Chanko's face could make this a really, really fun, interesting fight. At minus 300, I ain't playing that shit, bro. While Damian, the big Butch himself, is not only he's 24 years old and he hasn't fought any like high levels of competition. If you go through this, I mean, none of these fights are super, super impressive because of who he's fighting. But overall, like he is a guy that will mix it up to the body pretty well, makes it up to the head pretty well, will pressure forward a lot of the time, throw a lot of volume, good out of the southpaw stance, could make some things happen. And even though he has a lot of KOs here, I don't think it's really indicative of how powerful he really is. I think he's got some good thud, but he doesn't have some good pop with it. Same thing with Zainikov. I think both these guys are a little bit lacking in the power department, but have some good cardio and have some fun striking and can get hit a little bit. So I'm really interested into seeing this fight. I think this will be a very fun 3-round decision where both guys have a lot of success. And I will say, if Damian's really able to pressure Chanko and put Chanko on the back foot and really make him work, even though Chanko went out here and put up crazy volume on the Contender Series, we could be seeing Chanko slowing down in the later rounds. Now, 235 is ridiculous, and I fully recognize that. But when you're getting backed up, when you're circling off the back foot, when you're dealing with someone actually landing shots to the body and shit like that, the Butcher could bring some problems to John Pork in this situation, man. That's all I'm gonna say. That's all I'm gonna say, man. I love being the fake sharp guy telling you all this about, hey, this guy's gonna get it done, but I'm not gonna pick him. I do think Chanko's gonna win. I think Chanko's great. I think he's got good takedown defense. I do worry about his striking defense, but I don't think the Butcher has the power to take advantage of it in this situation, and I don't think he has the offensive wrestling to get Chanko in bad positions on the ground. And I think Chanko might actually have a good ability to keep this fight on the feet versus also taking it down to the ground if he wanted to as well. So the Butchers look good. He's also looked bad. He makes mistakes. Chanko is a slicker striker. He's got better overall tools. And while the Butch being southpaw could bring problems if he really is able to pressure and push a crazy pace, I still don't know if it'll be enough to overwhelm Chanko, who is slick, does need some improvements in the striking defense and could get caught clean, but I don't think he's going to get knocked out in this matchup, okay? Now, moving forward, we'll see. Matchup dependent. I might eventually fade him, but in this matchup, we're going with him by decision. He's fun to watch. I'm cheering for a banger. I think this could be a really, really fun fight, potentially fight of the night, if not just a really cool fight. Hopefully, we're not getting a lot of grappling, and if it is grappling, let it be cool for the love of fuck. Moving on to the next fight of the card, Islam Dulatov versus Wellington Turman. I'm going to be going with Islam Dulatov in this matchup, round 1 KO. Wellington Turman is getting brought up from the vault, man. He's getting brought back from the vault. I remember I bet on him in his last fight like 3 years ago against Jared Gooden, and I thought he was looking great. He was landing that low kick, basically a carbon copy of Alex Pereira. Looking good, man. I'm a shit. I bet on Alex Pereira, and he's minus 200 over Jared Gordon. Round 2 comes around. This dude just gets finished, man. It's how it goes. It's how it goes. The minus 200 looked like a lot of value at the time, though, I thought. So, Wellington Turman, he's hittable. He can get chinned. Islam Dulatov has a lot of power. Probably chins him in round 1. Round 1 KO. Islam Dulatov is the pick. Minus 1,000. Shit, if you want to play that, go for it, man. There is a world where Wellington Turman finds some takedowns, potentially makes it weird. Could find a submission. He's got a good submission game, but I don't think his takedown entries are that good. So, I don't know. Maybe we spend too much time in the clinch here. That's something you could look out for, but I think Dulatov's got to find the KO here. If he doesn't, you're dog shit, bud. Moving on to the next fight of the card. Steven Urseg versus Ramazan Temirov. Okay, competitive fight. I'm glad that they booked this one. You know, this is a good... okay, maybe it's not that fun of a matchup. But, I mean, this is an interesting matchup. This makes sense. Co-main event. I know we weren't getting straight bangers. This one wasn't like the oil money Abu Dhabi cards we've had in the past. But this is a good matchup. You know, this is This is a good test for Steve Erceg and also for Ramazan Temirov. For Steve Erceg, in the sense, yes, he's the veteran. He's faced more styles, but can he get past this explosive style of striker with big power that can catch him? And I don't think he will. I think he will be able to survive to a decision, and I think it will be close. And I think Ramazan will edge it out. I think this is one of those matchups where Ramazan is live for the finish and a little bit more live for the decision than we potentially think. And in a close fight at Abu Dhabi, shit, man, I think I'm going to be picking Ramazan just because of those options, because of the home crowd potentially being behind him. And while that's not normally how I roll, I flip-flop my pick both times. And every time I wanted to make this video predicting Steve Erceg, I keep having flashbacks of this guy just walking into punches. And that's probably not the perfect way to describe it, but there's something about Steve Erceg that just reminds me of the guy that would always get hit by a ball in the face at recess. Like, this is the type of guy that goes and just is watching kickball from the sidelines and just gets fucking doinked in the face for no reason. This is the guy that got fucking beaked in the balls playing fucking dodgeball, whatever it is. You know, if you ever seen Scott Sterling on YouTube, this is the kind of vibe I get from Steve Erceg. And it's not that he's bad. He's actually like fairly technical. He fights behind a jab pretty well, decently quick. And he has his moments where he's gritty man maxing. But he also has his moments where he's getting clipped by Ode Osborne. And I thought Ode Osborne was pretty bad going into that fight. That fight made me believe in Ode Osborne a lot more. And I don't know if that's a product of Ode Osborne or of Steve Erceg. There's moments where Tim Elliott didn't rock Steve Erceg, but landed shots that got through to where I'm thinking, well, shit, maybe Ramazan Temirov's big meaty hooks are still there. The same combo that Kai Kara-France landed on Steve Erceg, I've seen Ramazan Temirov land a lot of times. Charles Johnson is a tough guy to beat. Now, if you beat him, it's apparently not as good as losing to him if you're a prospect. So maybe Ramazan is not good just based off that nature. And maybe the frame advantage from Steve is just enough. But Steve, once again, yes, even though he beat an Alessandro Costa, got tagged in a couple of moments, definitely got hit. And I would say a large reason why he had success in that fight is because of his grappling. And if you want to make the argument that Steve is a better grappler than he is a striker, and he's a grappling first kind of guy because that's how he started out his career, I think that's an absolutely fair point to make. Okay, I think he's very well-rounded, but in this matchup against Ramazan Temirov, I don't think he's going to have the same wrestling success, the same grappling success that he did against Acosta, that he did against other fighters. Ramazan should be able to stuff the takedowns, and he is explosive, and he has big, meaty hooks. And Steve Erceg, just at some point, even if he is having success, I won't really be able to trust him because this is the type of guy that will have an otherworldly performance in round one, great head movement, and then he starts focusing in on a little bit more offense, gets behind the jab a little bit, and all of a sudden he starts trading in the pocket and like 3-4 punch combinations and just gets slimed for no reason, right? I don't think his wins are that great. He's beaten, obviously, the guys that he is better than and lost to the guys that he's worse than, but he's shown that he's like close to their level. He obviously almost beat Alejandro Pantoja, and since then has not had much success. So I like Steve Erceg. I kind of think I'm going to be cheering for him in this matchup. But Temirov, he's a pretty interesting prospect that just hits hard. And for Steve Erceg to be perfect for 3 rounds, it's going to be hard, especially with the potential takedown threat, if not less of a takedown threat from the Erceg side than in past performances. So Temirov is the pick. Very unconfident. I'm not playing it. We're not doing it. But I think I'm cheering for Erceg, man. It'd be cool to see him get a win and get back up there. So that's the pick on that one. Let's move on to the main event, man. We made it. We're 34 minutes deep, so I'm going to wrap this one up soon. We didn't do it under 35, but that's fine. All right, in this matchup, I got one bet basically on this card so far. I probably will throw something at some props, but my one bet on this card where I threw real money, I'm not throwing fucking the money you can find in your local piggy bank. I threw it on Magomed Ankalaev by finish. And I understand everyone's going to say Magomed Ankalaev is this boring guy with a lot of decision wins. And you would be correct to say that. I'm not going to fucking call you dumb. I mean, these decisions, they're a little bit traumatic, man. They're very, very boring at times. And he will look to control you on top and on the feet, he won't take the risks that he doesn't need to take. But there are certain matchups where I feel like the more technical guy who has some good power, who has good striking defense in a 5-round fight is going to he's going to find a moment to finish you. Bogdan Guskov is a guy that is going to have to find moments early. He's going to have to find the finish early, likely to win this fight, to give himself the best chance. He's going to have to push for that finish early on. And in my opinion, that just never plays out well throughout a 5-round fight versus someone that's a much better wrestler than you, has better jiu-jitsu than you, is a better boxer than you, is a better kickboxer, is better everywhere technically. Genuinely, I don't know where Guskov is better outside of explosive power and holding his hands lower when he is striking. His takedown offense is dog shit, bro. He got taken down by Billy Elikana. Billy Elikana had full hooks on his back, dude. He gave Volkan Oezdemir the first submission win of his career in the UFC, man. His grappling is not good. If you go back and watch the regional tape, there was a reason why he was an underdog against Zach Pauga. Now, I bet him in that matchup, but there was a reason why he was an underdog at some point to Zach Pauga. And it's because these guys that were not good, low level, were taking him down, right? And he wasn't getting controlled, but it wasn't because his get-up game was good. It was because his opponents were just so absolutely dog shit at controlling. Okay, once again, I hammered him against Pauga. Thought that was a crazy line. Ankalaev ain't Pauga. Ankalaev is better than any other grappler he's fought. And when you show me, let's go to the stats here, see if I can pull anything up that I'm not remembering at this moment. When you show me Billy Elikana taking you down, getting fully on your back, Ryan Spann taking you down, all these fucking moments, I just, bro, like I'm not trusting you to get this one done. I'm not trusting you to survive this one till decision. Magomed Ankalaev hurt Alex Pereira for a reason. That takedown threat is real. His timing is good. Johnny Walker, who is a teammate of Bogdan Guskov, as well as Walter Walker. I hate that fucking gym. Johnny Walker, Walter Walker, and Bogdan Guskov. I remember there was a time during one of their fights, I think it actually might have been Walker versus Lucas Burschke. Like in between the rounds, like they were giving each other advice. And it's just like, do you guys not have a fucking MMA coach? I think they do now. But there was a point where they just were training in a gym by themselves, having a blast, just learning things from each other. And I'm like, dude, these are not high IQ fights. These are the 3 dumbest fucking idiots. These are 3 stooges, man. I don't know how serious they take their career. I think they like to have a lot of fun. If someone wants to fact check me, I think at some point they adapted a coach and maybe they've been with the coach the whole time. I was just stupid. But there was one matchup where the guys in the corner were Johnny Walker and I think Bogdan Guskov cornering Walter Walker. So do with that information what you will. I don't know how serious they're taking their career. Ankalaev has sneaky power. I think if he gets Bogdan Guskov down, he can potentially find a submission. And if he's not finding a submission, he probably puts Guskov in a bad position. Ankalaev, people forget, 10-8'd a much better version of Jan Blachowicz than the version of Jan Blachowicz that dropped Bogdan Guskov in round 3 and looked much better than him in round 1. And in round 2 looked pretty good until he got KO or like dropped and 10-8'd. In my opinion, like Jan Blachowicz was far and away a much better, much more skilled guy than Bogdan Guskov, and is at this point, Jan Blachowicz is a much slower version of himself than the one that fought Magomed Ankalaev, and Ankalaev is just much quicker than a Jan Blachowicz probably in general at this point. So no hate to Jan. I love Jan. I might be picking him next weekend, to be frank with you guys. I ain't gonna lie. I ain't gonna hold you boys. I'm liking some meaty Jan Blachowicz next week. But Bogdan Guskov in this matchup, bro, I think his takedown defense sucks. I don't like his get-up ability. I don't think his submission defense is good. I don't really love his striking defense either. And while, yes, he is explosive early, I think if you wanted to bet Magomed Ankalaev at minus 575, bro, the hedge might just be Bogdan Guskov round 1 KO. Because if that's not happening, I don't see how he really wins this fight. And I just think stylistically, these guys that are more technical in every aspect of MMA throughout a 5-round fight tend to find these finishes. Example is like Volkanovski versus Yair Rodriguez. A little bit different, sure. And Yair, like, technically is better than Guskov, for sure. And you can also mention Vinicius Oliveira versus Mario Bautista. There's another matchup. Like if you want to bring up like Charles Oliveira versus Islam Makhachev, like that's another thing you could mention too. Now that's a little bit different, but this is another example. Like Ankalaev is just so much better, underrated power. And if he's getting mounted on Bogdan Guskov, Guskov has shown me nothing to make me think he can survive. If you're giving Volkan Oezdemir his first submission win in his career, dog, Ankalaev should be finishing you. And if he's not, I'll gladly play minus 250 to find out. So that's the take. That's the fucking full card prediction and breakdown. Round 2 KO Magomed Ankalaev minus 575, minus 600 might not even be horrible. I ain't gonna lie to you guys. Maybe I'm tripping a little bit, right? Maybe I'm underestimating Bogdan Guskov, but I've been waiting for the fade, and the fade has come, and the fade is in the form of Big Onk, man. He's taking this one home. Thank you guys so much for watching. Make sure to like and subscribe. Appreciate y'all, boys. We'll see you in the next one. Peace.